Wineries come in all shapes and sizes in all locations all over the world. Take this industrial park about 40 kilometers outside of downtown Vancouver, Cavallo Winery, making not only some of the best wines you'll find in Canada, but certainly among the most unique as well.
We actually classify ourselves as an international winery, and the reason for that is we import and source the finest materials from all over the world. We have a philosophy here of no compromise. If it isn't the best, we're simply not interested. We import the finest grapes from California, Napa Valley specifically. 2 vineyards, Stagecoach and Beckstoff, which are rated the highest vineyards. Because of our no compromise philosophy, we use 100% new barrels. The nuances that come out of a barrel in the first year are amazing. You can't duplicate it. People say, well, why do you use them once? Well, it's like using a tea bag twice. You can get a second cup. It's not the same. We aren't just making wine here, we're making history because of our winemaking process. I developed this process about 15 years ago. And what we actually do is we import our grapes from Napa Valley. But when they arrive, we don't make wine out of them. We actually freeze the grapes. We destem and freeze the whole berry grapes. And then we thaw them out. And in that process, it creates the most beautiful, smooth tannins, very, very rich, deep colors, more fresh fruit flavor. And the wines are actually more approachable early in their game. So what we've done is we've created the Francesco Gigliotti Collezione Privata. That's our private collection. These wines are made with incredible detail, and we spared no amount of money to produce these wines. There's basically 3 of them. There's one called Cantate. Cantate is a blend of California Cabernets with a little bit of Merlot and a little bit of Syrah. The wine is very unique. If you could compare it to something, it might be like an Opus 1, but it's quite different than that. We also wanted to make a real true Italian wine, so we made a wine called Pepino. And the Pepino was named after my father, actually, who made the worst wine in the world. But nevertheless, I respected him for what he did. And that is a Sangiovese grape, the Brunello clone from Italy, from Piero Antinori's Tignanello vineyard. And it's grown in California. And we added a little bit of Cabernet and a little bit of Petit Verdot to make it a true super Tuscan. And then our Reserva, our top flagship wine, is 100% Clone 2 Cabernet Sauvignon from Stagecoach Vineyards, which is way up in the hills, 2,000-foot elevation level. At that level, the UV factor is really high, so the skins grow really thick to protect themselves from the sun, and the berries are about the size of little peas. So they make incredibly intense Cabernet, probably the biggest Cabernet in Napa Valley. And that's our Reserva, and that's our flagship wine. '2020 is going to be a really, really good year for us, I think. We are actually opening up a location in downtown Vancouver at Thurlow and Pender. And you know, we've looked around just to get the right spot. We think we've located the right location. I was curious as to how good our wines actually were. And so I took my wines down to California, and I wanted the best winemakers to taste them. And certainly the #1 family of winemaking is the Wagner family that owns Camus. Camus Vineyards, as everyone knows, is America's premier wine. And I was meeting with Charlie Wagner of the Wagner family, and I said, look, don't blow smoke up my butt. I said, I just really want to know what you think of my wines. And he was shocked. He just said, these are some of the finest wines I've ever had in my life. In Wine Spectator, the wine Bible, anything over 90 points is pretty spectacular. 95 points is astronomical. Very few wines score 94 or above. And he said to me that my Pinot and my Merlot were solid 95, and my Syrah, my Sangiovese, and my Cabernet Sauvignon were solid 97. He says, I'm absolutely stunned. I don't know how you do what you do, but these wines are some of the finest I've had in my life. Jan Krupp, owner of Stagecoach, said to me that the finest wines that are made from these grapes are made by you, Frank, in Vancouver. We did an actual tasting of all of the top wines. Paul Hobbs, Paul Meyer, Miner, Alpha Omega, even Camus uses Stagecoach fruit. And at that tasting, there's no question my wine showed the strongest. Although we're considered an international winery, we are fiercely Canadian, and we purchase, whenever we can, products that are made in Canada. This is one of our babies here. These are our fermentation tanks that are made to our specifications by Raynox out of Saint-Césaire, Quebec. These are special tanks that have jackets that have glycol in it, so we can control the temperature, the perfect temperature of the fermentation, so we get exactly what we want out of the grape. This happens to be a tank that has Merlot that we just brought in from California, the grapes, and let's see what it looks like here. As you can see, the color is very, very rich. The wine has been in tank for about 2 weeks now, and we're going to press this out in about 3 or 4 days. It's showing, oh, beautiful plum and cherry and soft tannins. Ah, salute! This is going to be a great wine.
Cavallo Winery is clearly redefining the way the wine business is done in Canada. But how good are Cavallo wines considered? Well, let's put it this way. Wine Spectator is the Bible of wine merchants and winemakers. And if you get a score around 95, you're considered making very, very good wines. Influential winemaker Charlie Wagner of Camus Winery in Napa Valley has said if Cavallo wines were ranked by Wine Spectator, they'd be anywhere between 95 and 97.